Back in the day, you pretty much had two ways to listen to music. You either had a record player like most people, or if you were lucky and you had a lot of money, you may have had a reel-to-reel tape player. Now, a record player was simple. All you do is put a record on a turntable and then place the needle on it. A reel-to-reel player which had superior sound was far more complex. You had two reels, one with tape on it and one that did not. You then had to feed the tape through intricate rollers and wheels by hand and then tie it off on the other side. This was not only time-consuming, but it could end up being very frustrating. And over time, you could end up ruining the tape because of how many times you tied it off. Now, companies sought to simplify this method, and they came out with two options. One was the cassette tape. The cassette had the same concept as a reel-to-reel, but it was all encased inside of a tiny plastic container. The other option was an 8-track cartridge. They used larger tape, which in all cases mean a better sound, but it relied on internal constant tension on the tape, which over time led to expedited decay. Both simplified the process by eliminating the need to tie and feed tape through a machine, but in the end, the cassette won. And there's a reason for that, which we're going to find out why. Now, I have a friend over here, and he's going to demonstrate how an 8-track tape works. Alright, man, this is cool. You just take one of these, and you pop it right in here. Alright, let's start this one from the beginning so we can hear the whole thing. Oh, that's not cool. How do I rewind? Not cool indeed. The 8-track player did not have the ability to rewind, and that was because of the design of the tape. Now, while it could technically fast forward, most machines did not offer that either. Oh well, let's just try another one. Alright, it's the Beatles. Let's see how they are. Oh, I don't remember them sounding like this. And that's because they didn't sound like that. What you're experiencing here is something called tape slipping, which is something that happened with 8-tracks all the time. Because like I said earlier, 8-tracks were always under tension, and because of this, over time the tape stretched out. Now there was no easy way to fix this either, apart from really opening it up and kind of cutting out a piece and creating tension again. Hey, I think I fixed it. Well, that's no way to listen to music. Now, besides performance variances, the 8-track also had some other differences from a cassette. An 8-track did not get its name because it had 8 songs on it, but instead, it was because it had 4 programs that split up the music, and each of these 4 programs had 2 tracks for stereo audio, one for the left and one for the right. So 2 tracks on 4 programs equals 8 tracks. Programs themselves was the way to keep the tape length down and fit inside one of those cartridges. It also allowed you to skip ahead at will, which was unique for the time. But was it really a good thing? Yes, well, I could see a couple of good reasons to have that, but this really only worked if you knew every song and their order on the 8-track. Now, I say on the 8-track because typically an 8-track had a different song order from, let's say, a record or a cassette, and this was because of time restraints. And because of these time restraints on the programs, you could end up with half a song on one program and the other half on another. And let's say if the song was too short, well, you could end up with a big dead silence at the end of each program. So what's the verdict? Well, when this came out back in the day, this was a big deal. You could take this in the car, which was something you couldn't do with a reel-to-reel player or a record. These were, at least back then, far more reliable than a record because they couldn't scratch and they couldn't skip. But they have not fared well over time, and they may only have a small amount of time left because of all the stretching that's occurring. But, well, they were still fun to try out, and they are an important step in the history of music. And, well, That's music, man.
Thank you for watching this episode of Music Man. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and check out some of the other videos I've done.